At the Xbox Game Showcase of 2026, it was announced that Halo Campaign Evolve was set to be released on July 28, 2026 by Halo Studios, the all totally new team taking over the future of Halo. Sure. Now for all those who have critical thinking skills, you can almost confirm that this was originally going to be released in November of this year. I don't have any physical evidence of this, but it's Halo CE's 25th anniversary. Put the pieces together. However, if you even pay slight attention to the gaming sphere, you'll know there is something big, something really big set to come out this year. GTA 6 is single-handedly changing the gaming industry. Companies are moving set release dates of upcoming games this year just to avoid what will probably be the biggest game launch ever. If GTA 6 is successful, which it will be, this could potentially reshape the industry. You cannot understate this. The following is important to note. I'm writing this intro in early June, before the release of the game. What are my concerns? Well, it's a video game. And when the devs aren't given the right amount of time to finalize and polish everything, you get some absolute dog shit. From everything I've seen, there are some major positives with some really exciting elements and additions. As for some other decisions, they are just baffling to say the least, and you can still smell the 343 touch.
That stench, I've smelled it before.
Even worse, we got the dumbest Q&A post I've ever seen. The idea of a Q&A is great, unless you want to answer a bunch of questions that make your game look bad. This was like the opposite of marketing your game. Being honest, there isn't any purpose of me saying much else here. I have my reservations, and it's best just to find out whether this was really deserving of a third re-release. Lol, I can already feel the seething. It's a remake, not a remaster. Yep, and the water is wet. And of course, I'll put timestamps up on the screen now, and also in the description. Let's get into this. Let me run you through how I experienced Campaign Evolved. I decided to play the bonus missions first as I wanted to see the new content that's been added, 3 missions in total. I then played through the main campaign. All of this was played on Legendary Solo as I wanted to see what the difficulty was like, and if I wanted to replay it again later, I can relax and enjoy it more. I also collected all skulls and terminals, so about 10 to 15 hours worth of gameplay. I do plan on playing it more after I complete this video and get a mate to tag along for co-op, but I think I've experienced enough for now to write this review. As the title says, it's good, but disappointing. Now there is a few disclaimers I have to give before we break it down. Number 1, this is the first modern game that I've had performance issues with. This is completely to do with my aging PC and not the optimization of the game. I didn't crash once and had hitching and stuttering about 3 times throughout my whole 10 to 15 hours. I was expecting much worse. The gameplay which you'll see throughout this video looks pretty garbage. That's because even with every setting on low, I couldn't get this game to run above 60 FPS. For reference, my graphics card is a 2060 Super. My average FPS was about 40 to 50, so in that sense it felt like a throwback to the 360 days. I plan on upgrading it in the future, but things are tight at the moment and I didn't let the FPS affect me. A small rant I would like to attach to the graphics side of the conversation is the FOV for weapons. Halo has a history of weapons being so up close to your face, and I just wish they would take notes from Call of Duty in that respect. It'd make the game look so much cleaner. Number 2, I loved what Bungie did with Halo, and I like what 343 has done. What is a fact is that 343 attempts at it have been rockier, more controversial, and they seem to have a consistent problem with their identity. I'll be diving deeper into that whole debate in my Infinite review, which has turned out to be a monstrous project, so I apologise for the delay on that. The reason this is important to note is because I'm not some 343 hater, as you'll find out in my Infinite review, but you are mental if you think I'm going to go easy on a remake of one of the most important and influential games to ever be released. Alright, so that's the 2 disclaimers I wanted to get across. So what were the first impressions I got? Well, the main menu is fantastic due to a vertical layout with the partial use of horizontal submenus. The in-game HUD looks like dog shit. The gameplay is mostly decent, the art style looks good, being a mix of CE and Reach, the checkpoints are completely busted and inconsistent, the AI is confusing, the difficulty is whack in very specific areas, sprint shouldn't be here, a certain new character is fucking obnoxious, low ammo is still a problem, the battle rifle sound effects and animations are offensively unfinished, shortly followed by the assault rifle, the sheer amount of skulls is commendable, campaign remix is cool, the weapon and armor skins are so out of place, the pre-rendered cutscenes left a lot to be desired, Cortana looks terrible as the uglification of everything continues, there is no campaign scoring or timed leaderboards, yep, you heard that right, in a campaign only game. And honestly, I still don't think there was a reason to make this beyond a lack of vision and money. I'm not even one of those CE glazers who thinks everything about that game is the second coming of Christ, to know that it was a masterpiece for what it was and when it was released. The main issues I have with this game have to do with the gameplay, which is what we're going to discuss first. In general, this game does have the Halo feel to it, which I was skeptical about given the switch to Unreal. Before we get into it, please keep in mind that some of the things I'm about to talk about may already have solutions or possible upcoming fixes, so please disregard those or leave a comment if you have a fix, but for the ones that don't have a fix or don't plan on being updated, then this is absolutely relevant. The HUD, for example. It's garbage. I like the fact that you can move the elements around the screen, but it looks so generic. I don't understand why they couldn't just slightly modernize the original one. The worst thing about the HUD is why the fuck do I need to see the binds on screen for this? They look fucking ridiculous. They're way too big. And I cannot believe someone actually approved this in a AAA game, but they even show the bind to shoot your weapon. Do they think players are actually this retarded? Gee, thanks for telling me how to shoot my gun. Another addition which I think ruins the experience for this game is the objective marker. It's on by default, which is how most people are going to play the game. I really wish I'd turned this off, especially for 343 Guilty Spark. It just ruins the immersion of the setting when you're just heading towards a marker. You spend less time looking around and appreciating the environment. Not always knowing where to go is something that seems to be fading in games. There always seems to be a handout now, which I hate. Getting lost and learning routes was a part of the Halo experience. So what about the weapons? Let's talk about them next. It's like one step forward, one step back. Some weapons got a buff, while others got a nerf. We get some new additions too. The most obvious is the assault rifle being changed from 60 rounds to 36. The new AR is still great, but the original CE AR is one of the core pillars of that game, and it's just gone. My guess for the change is because they added the SMG from Halo 2, which is a fine weapon, nothing wrong with it, but it begs the question, why add this fucking gun if you completely disregard the original function of the AR? I don't understand this. The battle rifle was added to the prequel missions, and again, why? It looks unfinished, sounds like shit, and they should have just stuck with the Magnum. The plasma pistol is slightly worse, which has been a continuous pattern even in the Bungie days. Nothing will beat the original. The Magnum and Sniper feel practically the same to me, but the soul of them have been lost in their sound effects. They lack the punch they once had. The added additions of being able to pick up the fuel rod, beam rifle and energy sword is fantastic. No complaints there. They added the spiker and it's actually good, and I love the sentinel beam in every game, and it's goated here. Most of the other human and Covenant weapons feel the same. What is a surprise is the return of the needle rifle from Reach. Although it's mainly featured in the bonus missions, this is one of my all-time favourites, so I was delighted to see it again. And somehow, this is the most OP weapon in this game. There's minimal bloom, decent amount of reserve ammo, it's a precision weapon, so that's always good in Halo, and the Super Combine explosion makes it one of the most powerful weapons, hands down. The major issue that seems to plague this weapon, and other precision weapons, is the noob combo. For those who don't know, this is the plasma pistol plus precision weapon combo that has been the legendary meta ever since I can remember. For some fucking reason, when you fire an overcharged shot and switch to the needle rifle, there is a delay of how quickly you can fire your weapon. It also occurs with the Magnum and BR, but for some unknown reason the needle rifle has the longest delay after switching to it. In these clips that I'm showing, the moment I press the switch weapon key, I'm spamming the fire button, and nothing happens. The game is punishing me because I'm switching weapons too quick. With further investigation, apparently this input delay issue occurs with other weapons too, not just the noob combo. This feels so janky and unfinished, and this better get fixed. The last weapon to discuss is the shotgun. I'm very much in the middle of the road about it. The sound effects and animations are amazing. In terms of damage and impact, it feels mostly similar, but the range seems to be decreased. And again, they changed the ammo count from having 12 shells to 10. A change to the ammo count, which now gives you less ammo. This perfectly segues into the next elements of the gameplay. The AI is very akin to Reach. Given my opinion on this game, I should love how they are in this. Actually no, I don't. This is a Halo CE remake, not Halo Reach. I love the fact that from each game there are slight variations in the enemies. It keeps the experience refreshing for each game. However, CE's AI is still undefeated 25 years later. They were the best and the most balanced, and no game has mastered it since. Being mostly Reach style AI, they're aggressive. Nothing wrong with that, but you mix the aggression with numbers, and you create a shitstorm. Certain moments and rooms have so many enemies to the point of absurdity. You just endlessly kill, just waiting for those red markers to appear. The jackals and grunts, they're fine. The brutes puzzle me as they really add nothing to the gameplay. The ones that stand out the most are the hunters and the elites. The hunters feel like a mix of CE and Reach. On one hand, they still feel slow and you can get up close and circle around them. At other times, they have the quick insta-kill melee from Reach, which is impossible to dodge. In 99% of cases though, they are aggressive. When I say they, that's because there's always two of them. I tried attacking at medium to long range and I got my ass blasted. Then I tried the up close method and it seemed to work, most of the time. Sometimes I'd get one distracted and use a shotgun or a stronger weapon, just running them around in a circle. Other times, they would both push me so fast that it was hard to split them up. And if you get anywhere outside of up close, their cannon will destroy you. No matter how often I tried to readjust the strategy, I couldn't find a consistent method. That's because of their aggression. Not only are they the big bulky bullet sponges with a cannon, but they also charge at you regardless of what other AI is around. Which brings me to the biggest offender, the elites. They are on some hardcore coke or something. In most cases, they are extremely aggressive, very similar to Reach. But for some reason which I cannot work out, it only happens in certain moments and rooms. I'll put a bunch of them on screen now for reference, but you'll walk into a room or clear a wave, and the next wave of elites just charge at you, and they will not stop until you're dead. I love a challenge, but I can't stand inconsistency. The most memorable room, and not for a good reason, was the first bonus mission. In this room you have sniper jackals, a turret, and some other cannon fodder around this area. You also have 2 hunters and invisible spec op elites who chase you around and will not stop until you're dead, and there is nowhere to hide. You have to find a way to kill them. I spent 30 minutes in this room, and the only way I ended up beating it was by running around like it was a COD Zombies game. Speaking of running, sprint. I don't really have much to say on it. I could spend ages listing why it doesn't work, but other people out there have already explained it better than I could. The enemies just seem confused by it, and the levels seem too small for it. They just can't get over this whole capturing a casual modern audience crap. After recording all the audio for this video, I actually forgot to talk about the flood. I think the genuine reason that it kind of slipped my mind is that they don't really bother me that much. To my knowledge, they use the AI from Halo 3, so they don't feel as aggressive as they did in Halo Combat Evolved, but they're serviceable and I didn't really have a problem with them. The 3 other elements that tie into this clusterfuck is the ammo, the amount of enemies, and the checkpoints. Regarding the ammo, it feels like a comedy show where everyone throws shit at me and laughs because someone had to be trolling when they did this. As always with any 343, I mean Halo Studios project, there is fuck all reserve ammo in almost every weapon. Each time you finish a battle, you'll usually deplete a weapon. The argument there is that they've placed weapon crates and ammo all over the place. Switching weapons this often should be an option, not a requirement. 4th game into the series and they still can't get it right. Then you have what might be the biggest troll I've seen these guys do. They kept the increased reserve ammo for levels like Truth and Reconciliation at the beginning. Oh my god, they've finally worked it out. Wait, hold on a second, it says here, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Spoke too soon. If you remember what I said earlier, they've increased the amount of enemies on the level, so it gives off the effect like you have extra ammo, but due to the increase, you are still gonna have issues with low ammo. 1 step forward, 1 step back. Nothing has fucking changed. So typical. The lucky last debilitating element of this game is the checkpoints. Man, I take back all the shit I gave CE's checkpoints because what the actual fuck. Campaign Evolved's checkpoints are nonsense. There is no strategy or pattern to understand how they work. You can wipe out a full room of enemies 2-3 times and you still won't get a checkpoint. Sometimes you could be doing nothing and then they decide to give you a checkpoint. And in the worst case, you can get one in the middle of a battle.
What? Was it the Grunt's backpack exploding? It's a checkpoint? That's my checkpoint?
In CE, there were usually certain areas or enemies you have to kill to trigger a checkpoint. Sometimes they didn't work, but they were mostly consistent. Here, flip a coin and hope for the best. It seems to punish speedrunners the most, which just so happens to be my preferred way of playing. They better have a patch for this. So there you have it. Decent gameplay with monumental issues. That really concludes my overall thoughts on the gameplay elements, and now I want to dive into the bonus missions and talk about the gameplay there. I will say that the bonus missions are quite long. They're easily 20 minutes each. Mission 1 is boarding action and it's alright. The larger environments definitely feel closer in nature to the levels of CE, and seeing more of the Covenant environments we're familiar with. The rooms with the gold architecture was also a nice touch. The only issue I have with this level is the difficulty scaling on Legendary. As I said, there are so many enemies at points it is just flat out unfair. Mission 2, the most dangerous game, is interesting. It feels like a level from Halo 4, kinda like a mix of Reclaimer and Truth and Reconciliation. This starting dialogue sounds ridiculous. You have this person, which we'll get to, The gameplay is decent, nothing really stands out, but it has the same issue of where certain areas have so many enemies and you cannot proceed until they're dead, which kills any speedrunning viability. Mission 3 Heavy Burden is just a mix of the purple Covenant interiors you see in the first 2 missions, along with the gold interiors. There are some gondola segments which feel like a throwback to Halo 2. This is the only level of the 3 which I think is relatively balanced in regards to the amount of enemies, so that's a positive. Never mind, I'll take back that positive notion because they decide to bring back the Long Night of Solace experience. Yep, but this time you get a Covenant ship, but the mechanics are an exact copy and paste from Reach. Not a single element has changed. I'm not repeating myself here. There isn't even a fail state in this section. Who needs tension anyway? Overall, the bonus missions are fine. Nothing special in my eyes besides the glorious return of the needle rifle. Let's talk about the story and the characters. The bonus missions are referred to as Operation Meteorite, based about 1 year before combat evolved. It follows Chief and Johnson, as well as some other humans, but also introduces another Covenant sub-faction named the Sacristan Order, led by the Prophet Harmony. I'll abridge the plot, talk about the characters, and discuss the cutscenes as we go. It begins with Chief and Steve Harvey infiltrating a Covenant ship. This ship contains many scientific experiments, consisting of augmentations and enhancements conducted by the Prophet on different species within the Covenant. Sounds very similar to the Spartan program. The Chief and Steve Harvey's mission is to retrieve some navigation data regarding the Covenant's homeworld. They run into a Prophet, and what follows might be one of the worst cutscenes I've ever seen. First of all, you get this terribly choreographed beginning. What the fuck is that? And what the fuck is this? This looks terrible. There is also a consistent problem throughout all of the cutscenes where there is these long drawn out silences. It feels so awkward, unfinished, and it seems like they lack direction. What annoys me so much about this issue I'm about to mention is that it's so prevalent in 343's games. It perfectly translates here. The Prophet tells these useless fucks to stand down and begins monologuing, like every 343 villain to date. And I bet big money that the reason Harmony starts naming the species and what they're like is for this casual new modern audience they seek. Instead of show don't tell, it becomes tell don't show. The writing is contrived and it makes Chief and Steve Harvey look utterly stupid. Good villains do more than just talk. They are actively involved and take action on their ultimate plan. But not in 343's games. They usually monologue until the last mission and then they die or disappear. Then they bring in the Brute, and bro, oh my fucking god. They put this enraging device on him, and he just starts friendly firing on everybody.
Betrayal. Betrayal.
What if he did that to the Prophet? This shit is so dumb. Christ, man, I have to move on. The Chief and Steve Harvey continue to head to their objective, but all of a sudden, they detect friendly designations nearby. They have a no man left behind policy, so they decide to head towards it, and this is where we finally get to talk about this. Prepare for the White Knights and the law purists who don't know the difference between continuity and good writing. So we finally come upon this friendly signature, and it's an ODST by the name of Lieutenant Williams, with her scenery-filling squad. Her dialogue is god-awful. The reason for that is she straight up disrespects Chief.
Robbins, take the team and give me a perimeter check.
You don't seem as impressed as the rest of your crew.
No, Sergeant Major, I'm not. Takes more than fancy armor and a good PR campaign to impress me.
Shut your fucking mouth!
And in the background you can hear, in the law, ODSTs have disdain for the Spartans, as they feel like the glory has been stolen from them. ODSTs are natties, and Spartans run the gear. Plus Chief in particular has a bad reputation due to the fight that he had in the Fall of Reach. I hear you, good sirs, and that element creates some dynamism between the two sets of soldiers. This doesn't mean, however, it gives you the excuse to write a self-insert obnoxious girl boss who disrespects the face of the series. Even if this was a male ODST, I would still hate them just as much. But 343 have a history of doing this with their female characters, and this was very intentional. They just couldn't help themselves. It's such a shame because Halo has always had amazing female characters like Cortana, Dr. Halsey, Kat, Miranda Keyes, and Veronica Dare. I think I'm noticing a pattern. Did you also notice that they ever so subtly didn't show a single goddamn clip of her in the marketing? Wow, that must have slipped their mind or something. Almost like they knew the backlash they would have got. The idea of a previously highly respected class of soldiers being outshunned by what some would call scientific experiments, is brilliant. Them having disdain and even jealousy can create some amazing division and tension within the story. They could have wrote Williams to be more reserved and untrusting towards Chief. Whenever they interacted, her tone would change, she could act cold and would have less to say. But no, for longtime fans, tell me why they should give even a single fuck about a character that just disrespected the Chief. I don't, and most normal critical thinking people don't. Even the scenery fillers are better than this bitch. The way she walks up to him like that, where do you get this confidence from? Oh, I know, spiteful writers, that's who. Later on we get this line,
Not bad, Spartan. I'm almost starting to believe the propaganda.
which will become very relevant soon. So we make our way through waves of Covenant, and then Steve Harvey orders that person to secure an evac ship while him and Chief continue on their mission. The Prophet monologues some more, and don't worry, he'll do it a bit more later on. As the Chief and Steve Harvey are progressing, the ODST and her squad are having troubles locking down an evac ship, so the duo head towards their position, and when they arrive, we get this, and oh my fucking god, look at this shit.
Nice work.
Thanks. Spartans aren't the only badasses in the UNSC. Spartans aren't the only badasses in the UNSC. So, did you take out the Prophet?
Negative.
Whatever the Covenant's working on here needs to be stopped before it can go any further. We need to destroy this ship.
Chief, DLT's right.
This is where you need to think introspectively. They intentionally planted this propaganda line earlier, and just look at this. They walk into the room and then freeze the frame right there. They are standing in a photo op-like position, almost as a form of propaganda for the writers to promote this epic soldier who can handle her own. Again, it's just more tell don't show. We don't see them clear out this room. The frame isn't earned. The only thing we see this character do is disrespect the Chief on multiple occasions and then sit in this smug position. For all we know, the scenery fillers could have done this. It's actually impressive that the writers thought this would look epic. What's also impressive is all the bodies that are just underneath them. How much does that brute weigh? Wow, now that's dedication. The writers even have the balls to have her start telling the Chief what to do indirectly. And Steve Harvey just agrees with her. Yeah, this feels like the Halo I remember. I heard somewhere that she outranks the Chief, but imagine walking up to a UFC fighter and talking to them like this. You would get your head caved in. To finish off the bonus missions, we probably get the best ending possible. They need to deactivate something on the ship, so to allow for a small window for the UNSC ship to destroy it. So Williams chooses to sacrifice herself, along with the scenery fillers. Wait, what?
And he doesn't need to. You guys get off this ship, get the nav data to the UNSC. We'll drop the shields.
Negative, Lieutenant. That's a one-way trip.
It's been a one-way trip from the beginning for us, Chief. At least now we get to go out on our own terms.
That wasn't the mission.
Missions change, Chief. Always do. Now we're giving these Marines a chance to punch back.
Damn right. Chief, I gotta do this. It would haunt me every day to know we let this nightmare factory survive. And I'll be damned if I respond to this one.
They don't get a say on their own life? So because she is suicidal, they also deserve to die? If there was more dialogue or context showing how loyal they are to her, then we could understand their unwavering support and loyalty to their leader. But no, they don't even have dialogue, so she basically kills her squad. This writing is pure stupidity. They really thought they could write such an arrogant and obnoxious character, and somehow think people were going to care when she dies. Laughable is the word. So the Chief and Steve Harvey clear the airspace, the self-insert gives them a window, and she's blown up along with her mute squad. Hopefully to never return to the series. All in all, this campaign is so mediocre it hurts. The Chief and Johnson dialogue feels so forced. The other characters are worthless. They again make the Covenant look like a joke, and by the end, they secure some navigation data for high charity, so I guess that's something. But with all the promotional material they showed us, this can't be described as anything other than a disappointment. 25 years on, and CE is still a masterpiece for what it was. So how is the remake of the original campaign? It's good, very good. Starting with the Pillar of Autumn, this level is pretty damn perfect. Feels almost exactly the same as the original with new graphics. All positives from me on this one. The second mission Halo is also pretty perfect. The graphics especially look amazing on this level. and I'll happily play through this again as the gameplay feels so familiar. Mission 3, Truth and Reconciliation, looks beautiful, but my god, the difficulty and the amount of enemies you have to kill drains the life out of you. They changed the layout of this section here for some reason, placing the turret here, which completely ruins the silent approach you once had. The section before you go up to the ship is absurd. There is no way they playtested this and actually greenlit it for launch. The rest of the mission is mostly similar, with some minor changes, which I don't mind. They've removed a lot of the stakes and tension, as I believe keys cannot be killed anymore. That's dumb. This mission needs a patch to fix up the balancing big time. Mission 4, the Silent Cartographer, looks spectacular and the Warthog feels great to drive around. I don't understand why now they allow you to drive it up the gully here. This was an intentional design in the original, but whatever. Everything else feels pretty similar, but my god, the Spec Ops elites are cracked in this game. Mission 5, Assault in the Control Room, is pretty much perfect compared to the original one. Some slight variations in the level, but nothing game changing. The tank is fantastic, the ghosts are neat, the Banshee is fun, and I love how they've added the ability to drive the Wraith now as well. Mission 6, 343 Guilty Spark, is actually my favourite mission in this remake. The graphics and lighting create such a dark undertone for what you're about to experience. The layout has changed quite a lot, and in my opinion for the better. I genuinely love this level. Mission 7, the Library, has had a complete overhaul. Graphically I think it looks good, and I understand they didn't want to remake the monotony that was the original. In some sections they've completely changed the layout, they've added light bridges and doors, which is fine, but it just doesn't feel like the library anymore. The hallways you would run through felt so grand in size, adding that spectacle element. Everything is just much tighter now. It isn't even a complaint really, it's more of an observation. Difficulty wise, this could be me just having a bad checkpoint, but the section at the end with the 2 tank floods took me ages. I ended up beating him by running around again like it was COD Zombies. Mission 8, 2 Betrayals, stays very true to the original by being extremely challenging on Legendary, but here I wasn't frustrated too often as it actually felt balanced. There were slight changes to the layout of this level, and they were fine. It was great to play through this again. Mission 9, Keys, looks fucking awesome with the new graphics. This level here definitely has the issue of some sections being so overwhelming and having random rooms where the AI is so aggressive. There's some slight layout changes, but nothing drastic. The only thing I find strange is at the end when you're supposed to hop in the Banshee, you can only jump in the right one. This makes no sense, but we'll be talking about that in a moment. The finale being Mission 10, The Maw, was a blast. Pretty much everything felt true to the original, but there were changes to the Warthog run, so now it feels more realistic instead of driving across a ship that never ends. This was a great change, and I'm keen to play it again. A detail you might have noticed is I don't have much to say in the way of levels, and that's because in the grand scheme of things, it's faithful to the original, whilst also making variations that feel new and refreshing, but also warranted in some cases. The good in the title of this review comes from the main campaign missions, not the bonus ones. We still have one more topic we need to discuss, and that is the characters and the cutscenes. You might have noticed that I'm not going to talk about the story. That's because all in all, it is exactly the same with some of the most minor changes that don't affect the story at all. I'll leave my thoughts and analysis on it for when we eventually review CE. I instead want to focus on the characters and the cutscenes. The cutscenes are so mid for a game made in 2026. The blur cutscenes from Halo 2 Anniversary look superb even 10 years later, and they make campaign evolved cutscenes look embarrassing in comparison. The credit I will give is they've added some extra scenes where it might show more establishing shots and changed camera angles compared to the original. I didn't mind these, but some of the new added ones, there just seems to be a lack of direction in all of the scenes, which definitely carried over to the bonus missions. The action looks very stiffly animated, there is a 30 FPS cap for some reason, and they're pre-rendered, which is so jarring in some cases. They of course changed the genders and ethnicities in multiple cases. I'm generally not making a big deal out of this as they haven't changed any of the main characters in that way, but they can never just remake games exactly how they were, can they? The first thing I did after beating this game is I went back and watched the original cutscenes, and then I watched the new ones again, just to really see the difference. I'm not going to go through and nitpick every little detail, I'm more so just going to speak about the ones that stick out to me, for better or worse. The opening is pretty much the same and stays very faithful. They added this extra scene with Johnson, and this is the first example of these long, awkward ass silences.
And keep your eyes downrange, fingers on the triggers, and we'll all go home in one piece.
Not a great start. Being Halo CE, the music is timeless, not a single complaint about that. The beginning to Silent Cartographer looks beautiful, but lacks the immersion the original had. Weirdly, they added a moment of a ship being destroyed, but the debris is nowhere to be found on the level, and you no longer start the mission flying inside the Pelican looking out at the beach, which I always thought was a nice touch. They absolutely butchered the opening cutscene to Assault on the control room. It's lost all personality and charm. When you reached the control room in the original, there was a sense of scale and intrigue. Now due to the lighting, it feels so enclosed. Something about the colour dark blue always shrinks the size of a room for some reason. The 343 Guilty Spark cutscenes are the highlight for me. I feel that this was the only mission where they 100% knew the direction and design they were going for. In Keys at the end, during the gameplay you can only hop in the Banshee on the right, but in the cutscene you hop in the Banshee on the left, and the one on the right disappears. What the fuck? Where was the quality check on this? At the beginning of the Maw, they added in this extra line and I think it works great.
There must have been something wrong with the coordinate data.
Unfortunately, the last cutscene of the game has another blunder. So they added in a tank form attacking the chief as he's about to fly away. This would have been fine, but the choreography, look at where the surrounding flood is in these shots. Then they cut to a wider shot and they're fucking ages away. I like the callback to Key's Magnum, but if you can't get the basic shots right, don't do it. So, my opinion on the cutscenes overall, extremely lackluster. Some of the extra little details they've added are appreciated, but some of the main shots don't hold a candle to the original. What a disappointment. Seems like it was rushed out the door yet again. The last thing we need to discuss is the characters, 3 in particular. Those 3 being Cortana, Keyes, and Sergeant Johnson. The rest feel exactly the same as I remember them. For Cortana, her dialogue is almost exactly the same, with some of the delivery being slightly different. That's not what I'm concerned with. It's her design, man. It's atrocious. Halo as a series has changed the design in every single entry, which is fine by me, but you're telling me this is the model they went with. Why didn't they stay true to the original? Or hear me out, Halo 4s. Man, they fucking cooked with that one. They also changed her colours. Instead of the purple and green that was so synonymous with CE, they've gone with a typical blue and a gold. As for the gold, I think it looks awful. This is more so understandable from a narrative perspective, as I think the angle they were going for was with the amount of knowledge she absorbed, she goes Super Saiyan 3. I still preferred the green. Now Captain Keyes, this could be a hot take, but I'm actually happy with his design visually, and I think the voice actor did a great job. No, it's not Pete Stacker, as I believe he's retired from voice acting. Enjoy your retirement, homie, but I have no complaints with the new Keyes here. Then we have to address the elephant in the room. Sergeant Johnson. The tragedy of his character is that David Scully retired from voice acting long ago, so he didn't return for this. His role as Sergeant Johnson is so distinct that no matter who you replace him with, it will never be the same. His tone, the grunge in his voice, his cadence, and his delivery is so recognizable. No matter who they replaced him with, it was never going to work. This is by no means a hit piece on the replacement Keston John. He auditioned for a job, got it, and did the best he could with the information he was provided, so don't be a dickhead and send hate his way. In saying that, there are many examples of his delivery feeling so off and forced, but the absolute worst case is the iconic Sergeant Johnson speech. Let's play the original first.
Man, we let those dumb bugs out to the middle of nowhere to keep them from getting their filthy claws on Earth. But we stumbled onto something they're so hot for that they're scrambling over each other to get it. Well, I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines? Sir, yes, sir! Damn right I am.
God damn, I want to be in his army. Now here is the remake.
Man, we led those dumb bugs out to the middle of nowhere to keep them from getting their filthy claws on Earth. But we stumbled onto something that they're so hot for that they're scrambling over each other to get it. Well, I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We are not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines? Sir, yes, sir! Damn right I am.
This is the worst!
These aren't the same people. The delivery is just so off. This is a guy trying so hard to be him, and it's so blatantly obvious. Lastly, his design. It's Steve Harvey, dude. What happened to the bloke they used in H2A? This is how I remember his face now, so when you decide to use Steve Harvey instead of this guy, I'm just confused. Which is how I feel about the entire game. Let's conclude this. In conclusion, Campaign Evolved is good. I think the new players will enjoy it, and I think it meets the minimum standard of a Halo game. Having so many selectable skulls to freshen up the gameplay, as well as being able to create presets for campaign runs, are amazing innovations, but there is no way in hell I can say with a clean conscience that I'd recommend this version over the original. It has devolved in so many ways, and it continues the trend of 343 releasing unfinished games. This game in particular I give slight lenience towards, as you can clearly tell this was supposed to be released in November. And also, with the amount of job cuts that's gone through Microsoft recently, I really do feel for the devs that had to work on this. But still, why would I recommend an inferior version of an already existing game? The cutscenes are so mediocre, the new added content is bland and offensive in certain cases, and there isn't even a leaderboard or scoring for a campaign-only game. That was the bare fucking minimum. But that's exactly my point though. It's disappointing. Another year of waiting, another year of hoping. If you enjoyed this review and you wish to support these and my channel into the future, the best way to do this is just by leaving a like on the video. It helps more than you know, and I'm truly grateful for your support. I would like to note that I usually go more in depth with my reviews, but for this, I wanted to get it out as soon as possible while the game is still being talked about, and hopefully cover the upcoming gap for my Infinite review. So, did you like and enjoy Halo Campaign Evolved, or did it not live up to your expectations? Comment below your thoughts and opinions. Thanks for watching.